Every AR-15 shooter thinks their rifle started as a military weapon. That belief is wrong. Colt did not build the AR-15 platform. The company bought the rights, redesigned key features, and turned it into a rifle civilians could own. The company nearly ceased production of the rifle entirely, not just once, before that happened. This top-of-the-list rifle created an entire industry, and early buyers had no idea they were buying the ancestor of almost every rifle on gun store shelves today. Let's delve deeper. Number 7. The Colt Model 1855 Revolving Rifle. This rifle matters because it was one of the first attempts to bring revolver technology into a long gun, decades before repeating rifles became standard issue. Samuel Colt built this rifle using the same revolving cylinder mechanism found in his handguns. The military tested it during the 1850s, and some units carried it into Civil War service. Cavalry and infantry regiments used variants of this rifle in limited numbers, hoping the extra rounds per cylinder would offer an advantage over single-shot muskets. Here is what most people miss about this rifle. The cylinder gap that made revolvers so effective created a serious danger in a two-handed long gun. When multiple chambers ignited at once, a condition known as chain fire, the shooter's supporting hand sat directly in the path of that blast. Soldiers reported burns and injuries from their own weapon, not the enemy's. This flaw limited the rifle's combat use far more than any performance shortfall. This rifle weighed 9 pounds and used a percussion cap ignition system firing a .56 caliber round ball. Cylinder capacity ran 5 or 6 shots, depending on configuration, well ahead of the single-shot rifles most soldiers carried. Compare that to the standard Springfield musket of the same era, which required a full reload after every shot. On paper, the Colt offered a clear firepower advantage. The chain fire risk remained the rifle's defining weakness. Some soldiers avoided the weapon entirely, rather than risk a hand injury in the middle of a firefight. That risk mattered most in close combat, when speed forced shooters to grip the rifle without the caution a range session would allow. Collectors and Civil War historians are the ones who chase this rifle today. This next entry did not fail because of a design flaw. This next entry disappeared because of a deal made behind closed doors. Number 6. The Colt Burgess Rifle. This rifle matters because it represents Colt's only serious attempt at a lever-action design, and the company pulled it from the market within a single year. Colt introduced this rifle in 1883, designed by Andrew Burgess, and built to compete directly with Winchester's lever-action lineup. Early sales looked promising. Distributors ordered the rifle in meaningful numbers, and Colt appeared ready to challenge Winchester's grip on the lever-action market. Here is what most people miss about this rifle's disappearance. Winchester responded by announcing plans to manufacture revolvers, a direct threat to Colt's core business. Historians point to an alleged gentleman's agreement between the two companies. Winchester would stay out of revolvers. Colt would stay out of lever-action rifles. Within roughly a year, Colt discontinued the Burgess entirely, and Winchester dropped its revolver plans just as quickly. This rifle weighed 8 pounds and came chambered in .44 Winchester center fire, a direct match to the ammunition Winchester rifles already used. Barrel length ran 25.5 inches on the standard rifle configuration, with a tubular magazine feeding the lever-action system. Compare that to the Winchester Model 1873, the rifle it was built to challenge, which used the same cartridge, but had years of market trust behind it. The short production run left this rifle without the reputation Winchester rifles built through decades of continuous use. Collectors value it today precisely because so few were made before Colt walked away. Serious Colt collectors and Old West historians seek this rifle out for its rarity alone. The next entry took a different approach entirely, cycling rounds fast enough to challenge lawmen and outlaws in the same holster. Number 5. The Colt Lightning Rifle. This rifle matters because it gave shooters slide action speed, at a time when lever guns dominated the market, and it built a reputation among lawmen who needed rapid follow-up shots. Colt released this rifle in 1884, offering a pump-action design across small, medium, and large frame variants to cover everything from small game cartridges to heavier rounds. Lawmen across Texas and the Indian Territory carried this rifle for its rapid follow-up capability in close-range gunfights. Here is what most people miss about this rifle's mechanics. The slide action let a shooter keep their eye on target while cycling the next round, unlike a lever gun that required breaking the firing grip to work the lever. That speed advantage should have made this rifle the dominant choice of its era. It never reached Winchester's sales numbers. This rifle weighed 7.5 pounds in its medium frame configuration and used a tubular magazine feeding system. Barrel length ran 26 inches standard, chambered most commonly in .44 Winchester center fire. Capacity reached 15 rounds in the medium frame model. Compare that to the Winchester Model 1873, which cycled slower but carried decades of established trust among frontier buyers. The slide action mechanism proved more prone to jamming when exposed to dirt and debris than a simple lever gun. That weakness mattered most in dusty frontier conditions and mattered far less for a lawman carrying a well-maintained rifle in town. Old West collectors and lever gun historians are drawn to this rifle for its unique action type. This next entry left the frontier behind completely, built in a country most Colt buyers never expected. Number 4. The Colt Sauer Sporting Rifle. This rifle matters because it carried an iconic American name while being built entirely by a German manufacturer, a partnership most casual buyers never questioned. Colt partnered with J.P. Sauer and Sohn of Germany during the 1970s, importing a bolt-action rifle and selling it under the Colt name to American hunters. This rifle gave Colt a foothold in the sporting rifle market without designing a bolt-action platform from scratch. Hunters across the country bought this rifle, believing they were purchasing a Colt through and through. Here is the engineering decision that changed everything for this platform. Sauer built the action around an interchangeable bolt head system, allowing a single rifle to switch between different case head diameters. A hunter could adapt one rifle to multiple cartridge families without buying an entirely new action. That flexibility set this rifle apart from most fixed-caliber bolt guns on the market at the time. This rifle weighed 7.5 pounds and offered a 24-inch barrel across most chamberings. Chambering options included .270 and .308, among several others, feeding from an internal magazine with a 3-round capacity in most configurations. Compare that to the Remington Model 700 of the same era, a fixed-caliber action that required a separate rifle for each cartridge family. Colt Sauer could handle with one. The Colt name created confusion among buyers expecting an American-made rifle from an American factory floor. That confusion mattered little to hunters focused purely on accuracy and reliability, and mattered more to collectors who value manufacturing origin as part of a rifle's story. Serious hunters and collectors chasing accuracy over brand purity gravitate toward this rifle. This next entry took the same German engineering and scaled it up to face something considerably more dangerous than a white-tailed deer. Number 3. The Colt Sauer Grand African. This rifle matters because it was built specifically to stop dangerous game before dangerous game could stop the hunter. Colt expanded the Sauer partnership in the 1970s to create a big bore variant aimed squarely at African safari hunting. This rifle targeted professional hunters and clients pursuing Cape buffalo, elephant, and other game capable of killing a hunter who carried underpowered ammunition. Safari outfitters recommended this rifle specifically for its stopping power. Here is what most people miss about this rifle's true advantage. The cartridge selection mattered more than any feature of the rifle's action or finish. Chambered in .458 Winchester Magnum, this rifle delivered energy figures that outclassed nearly every standard sporting cartridge available at the time. A hunter could own the finest bolt action on the market, and none of it would matter without a cartridge capable of penetrating heavy bone and dense muscle on a charging animal. This rifle weighed 9.5 pounds, heavier than the standard Colt Sauer, built to absorb recoil from its .458 Winchester Magnum chambering. Barrel length measured 24 inches, feeding from an internal magazine holding 3 rounds. Muzzle energy reached 5,000 foot-pounds, nearly double the output of the .270 chambering found in the standard Colt Sauer sporting rifle. Compare that to a standard .308 hunting rifle, which produces a fraction of that energy at the muzzle. The added weight and recoil made this rifle impractical for anything smaller than dangerous game. That trade-off mattered little to a professional hunter facing a charging buffalo, and mattered a great deal to anyone considering this rifle for a whitetail stand. Dangerous game hunters and big boar collectors seek this rifle specifically for its stopping power. This next entry jumped forward roughly a century, into a rifle built for law enforcement rather than safari camps. Number 2. The Colt AR-901. This rifle matters because it scaled the AR platform up to a battle rifle caliber, specifically for law enforcement units that needed more range and penetration than a standard patrol carbine could offer. Colt introduced this rifle to meet demand from police departments and federal agencies seeking a designated marksman option built on a platform their armorers already understood. Departments running standard AR-15 carbines could issue this rifle to specialized units without retraining officers on an entirely new manual of arms. Law enforcement agencies adopted this rifle specifically for its balance of familiarity and increased power. Here is what most people miss about this rifle's real advantage. Departments did not choose this rifle purely for ballistics. This rifle shares the same controls, the same manual of arms, and the same maintenance procedures as the standard patrol carbine officers already trained on daily. That familiarity reduced training time and lowered the risk of operator error under stress, an advantage that mattered more to procurement officers than raw muzzle energy alone. This rifle weighed 9.5 pounds and used a 16-inch barrel in its standard patrol configuration. Chambered in 7.62 by 51, this rifle fed from a 20-round magazine using a direct impingement operating system. Compare that to a standard AR-15 patrol carbine, chambered in 5.56 NATO, which offers less range and penetration against cover, but carries lighter and cycles with less recoil. The heavier caliber increased recoil and reduced magazine capacity compared to a standard patrol rifle. That trade-off mattered little for a designated marksman covering longer distances, and mattered more for an officer needing rapid follow-up shots in a close-quarters encounter. Tactical units and designated marksmen looking for platform familiarity chose this rifle for its shared controls. This final entry goes back to where the entire platform began, and the decision that turned a military design into a rifle any American could walk into a store and buy. You have waited long enough. Here it is. Number 1. The Colt AR-15 SP1. This rifle matters because it became the first civilian version of the AR platform ever sold to the American public, a decision that reshaped the entire firearms industry. Colt purchased manufacturing rights to the AR-15 design from Armalite in 1959, after Armalite struggled to sell the platform to the military on its own. Colt secured a military contract for the Select Fire version, which became the M16. Colt then released a semi-automatic civilian variant in 1964, marketed to hunters and sport shooters who had no interest in a military weapon. This rifle entered gun stores at a time when most Americans had never seen a black rifle on a shelf. Here is the engineering decision that changed everything for the entire firearms market. Colt removed the select fire capability and modified the lower receiver to prevent conversion, creating a rifle legally distinct from its military counterpart. That single design choice allowed millions of Americans to legally own a rifle built on military architecture, something no manufacturer had successfully offered at scale before this rifle reached the shelf. This rifle weighed 6.5 pounds and used a 20-inch barrel with a direct impingement operating system. Chambered in .223, this rifle fed from a 20-round magazine, considerably lighter than the 9.5-pound Colt Sauer Grand African, built for dangerous game. Compare that recoil difference to the LE901's 7.62x51 chambering, and this rifle offered a fraction of the felt recoil, with none of the stopping power required for big game. Early models faced reliability concerns after the military switched propellant types without updating cleaning procedures for troops in the field. That issue affected military rifles far more than the semi-automatic civilian rifles sold on American shelves, where shooters maintained their firearms under far less demanding conditions. This rifle earns the top position because it created an entire product category. Every AR platform rifle sold today, including the LE901 at number 2, traces its lineage directly back to this 1964 release. No other rifle on this list changed how an entire nation thinks about rifle ownership. 7 Colt rifles, 1 company, and a pattern of decisions that shaped an entire industry. Colt built its legacy through partnerships, acquisitions, and a willingness to walk away from designs that did not work. Which entry surprised you the most? The chain fire risk on the Model 1855, or the gentleman's agreement that killed the Burgess? This content covers historical and collector firearms. Always check state and federal law before purchasing any NFA-regulated item or state-restricted firearm. Subscribe if you want firearms breakdowns built on verified specs and documented history, not marketing copy.